Okay, welcome to Chapter 3, Organizational Strategy, Information Systems, and Competitive Advantage. And now, hopefully, as business students, you will understand that last term up there, competitive advantage. See, today's companies, no longer do we have sole source suppliers, sole source of anything. If you want ice cream, you can go to 13 places in Bowling Green and get ice cream. So you have to kind of look and see do you have a competitive advantage? For ice cream, do you have the best ice cream? Do you have a customer waiting area that is conducive that's aesthetic, that's clean? So you have to have an advantage over someone else in order for this to work. So hopefully we're going to spend a fair amount of time talking about Michael Porter and his competitive 5 forces model. Again, you management majors will understand that, and if not, you will see that very soon. You'll spend some time with Michael Porter talking about a competitive advantage. So we can't be everything to everybody. The study questions that we're going to look at: organizational strategy, the 5 forces I told you about Michael Porter, the competitive strategy, and that will determine the advantage. How does it determine value chain structure? And how does a value chain structure determine business processes and systems? And then how does IS provide the competitive advantage? So hopefully you'll be able to get your teeth into this chapter fairly well. So first question is, how does organizational strategy determine information systems structure? As you see the industry structure and the competitive advantage, then you can get an idea that if you look at the model as the structure feeds into competitive strategy, you can look and see what is the best strategy. Let me give you an example. Walmart. What is their competitive strategy? Pricing. They've always advertised the lowest prices. Is it the most fun place to shop? Nope. Are the store parking lots easy to park right up front by the door and walk in? Nope. Do you walk in and get what you're going to get and go to a checkout line because they're all open and it takes 2 minutes to get checked out? Nope. So why do people shop there? Price. Overall, you can save money according to what they advertise and to what people do. They're busy, so it's probably good. So that strategy has to play in. That will in turn cause the value chain to change. We will mention that later. You go through the business processes, and then you have the IS that allows these components to work through here. So what I want you to see is not only this in here, but what does IS have to do with everything else. So competitive forces. Michael Porter, he says there's 5. Competition from vendors who manufacture substitutes. So do you get when you go get a lawnmower, do you get a Murray or do you get a Honda? And why would you get one over the other? What about when something new comes out? When Apple comes out with a smartphone, Samsung is close behind or slightly ahead. They're in competition from each other. People like new stuff. And then you have competition from existing rivals. Existing rivals, take your rental cars, Hertz and Avis. For years and years and years, they were the only 2 rental cars to get. And then everyone else, if you wanted to rent a car, you had to get one of those 2. And they were priced closely. They were closely related in their pricing schemes. But then National come out and all these other ones come out. And so that causes people to have to look at their price. Then you look at the bargaining power forces, the bargaining power of suppliers. I told you 2 chapters ago, don't get a sole supplier. If you do, their pricing is what they want it to be. And if you're so used to buying your products from one source, then you have to go with what they say. And then the bargaining power of customers. If you're buying a home, right now, and in the last 5 years, it's been a buyer's market. Sellers have a hard time selling their houses for what they're worth because of the housing debacle that we had. So it's been a it used to be, it was a seller's market. People would sell their house, they would buy a house. I'll give you another example. Many years ago, 23 years ago, I bought a house, had a house built. My wife and I did. We lived in it 5 years, and we sold it for exactly double what we paid for it. Exactly. So you can't do that today because customers buying houses have no bargaining power. So please look at these competitive forces models of industry structure that Porter has set up. The bargaining power, the threat of substitutions, the bargaining power, the threat of new entrants, rivalry, competition, scheming with each other. I'll let you look at this model right here. This is in your book. I would understand this very well because you'll have many questions in your chapter quizzes about these right here. 5 forces at Falcon Security. And again, this is in your book, and you can get an idea by looking at your chapter on this right now. So what is competitive strategy? Putting these in place. The costs and differentiation. Do you want a Honda automobile or do you want a Mercedes? Is one better than the other? It depends. If you ask a Honda owner, they will probably say no. If you ask a Mercedes owner, they will probably say yes. What you have to decide is there a difference enough? You can buy a Honda car, which is a fine automobile, new Honda Accord, $25,000. You can buy that's for a middle-of-the-road Honda Accord with a 4-cylinder. You can buy a middle-of-the-road Mercedes for $50,000. Is one worth double the other? I don't know. Depends on what you want in an automobile, and that's what you have to decide. Competitive strategy to determine value chain structure, our fourth question. Depends on what parts you need, how you want them in order to have this value chain structure find all the way through. If you look at this, let's look back just a minute. So if you look at this, then these follow suit in order that they match the customers, the organizational direction and guidance on what you're going to have for this right now, for procuring technology, human resources, and infrastructure. The value chain, the inbound logistics, how does your products come in? How are they arranged when they're brought in? Can you get to them easy? When the products come in, can they go to different parts of the plant? The manufacturing, can you take these inputs that come in and put them into the final product? Distributing the parts and assembled goods to buyers. Getting buyers to purchase the product, and then customer service is assisting customers' use of the product. And then what do you do? So, it's one thing to sell a product, but then you have to support it. Does your company understand this well enough in order to make the customer friendly, make the customer happy, and keep them up? So how do value chains determine business processes and information systems? Low-cost rentals to students. Look at the model here. I was recently took a little 2-day R&R trip to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and while I was in Chattanooga's big on bike rentals, and so any place you go in the city, you can rent. I just realized looking at this slide here, low-cost rentals to students. You want a bike. Any place you go in the city, you can rent a bike, $5 a day, but you have to change the bike with another bike every hour. Every hour that day you have to change the bike, or it costs you an additional $5. Now the importance and the purpose of that is so that bikes have enough maintenance and they get you around the city, and there's enough bikes for everybody else. They've thought through this, and that was really a good strategy in order to do this. A lot of bikes out, a lot of people riding bikes. It was a nice time of the year. People were riding bikes over here. So look at the value chain activity, match it up down here to what the responses will be. Continuing on, this right here, greeting the customers, determining the customer's needs. This is difficult sometimes. You have to separate needs from wants, because sometimes people want something and they really don't need it, and that want will wane. And sometimes you have to just let them buy it anyways, but you need to give them good advice, even though it may cost you a sale. So you return this right here and everything else is fine. How do they provide competitive advantage? Principles of this: product implementations and process implementations. I'll let you look at this model here. There's not a whole lot I want to say about this. How does a company use this right now? Well, they can gather information. If I'm, for all my customers, when I had my business, I knew all my customers. I had a database on all my customers, and I knew a lot about them. Not only did I know them, but I knew their kids' names also. And so when a customer came in, I would pull their account up, especially if they were buying something. I'd ask them for the last four numbers of their telephone number, and they would give me that, and then that would prompt a choice of one or two customers, either Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones, if they happen to have the last four, and then I would greet them by name. Maybe if they have their kids with them, I can look down and say, "Hey, Billy, how's it going?" And I mean, that makes people feel good. So collecting information. CIS helps customers fill out part of the forms. You all have done that before when you start filling out the form completion. If you're on online and you've already got this set up, when you start typing, your name appears. If your Google information appears, your address and everything else appears. Information delivery system, shipping labels. You all that this was created during Christmas time when lots of packages are arriving. Everything is scanned in, scanned out. Some more roles for this right now. Car rental products. You can get an idea of this. I rented a car a few weeks ago on a little trip, and everything was done. I had very little personal interaction with people. Everything was done with a scan. They scanned everything. This is drilling in and getting information out. And again, I talked about this already. So customer records need to be, CIS keeps customer records in order. So when you start typing something in, then you actually have information. Your customers are already in there, and then you can set up everything. I'm not going to go through these forms with you all. You can get an idea, though, what Pearson is trying to say up here, and how they're checking information out, printing shipping labels and everything else. You can print your own barcodes now. You all should either know that or should know it. You can print your own barcodes out, and these you can attach. You can actually buy stamps now, and they just print something in here in place of the stamp, and they print the barcode out, and you're charged by that. You can buy $100 worth of postage. It'll store on your computer, and then each time you use something and print an envelope out, then it subtracts 50 cents or whatever postage cost. It subtracts that out. So how does the knowledge in this chapter help you? Well, understanding the business processes and the way they relate, competitive advantage, is what I really wanted you to understand with this right now. Please understand, competitors, who will be your competitors when you seek a job after graduating from college? The rest of your students will be your competitors. I mean, you're going to go out to jobs, and a decent job will have 25 or 30 people apply for that job. So you're going to have to set yourself above. When I hired people, I set the standards I set up was I had minimum. They had to have a 4-year degree. That degree had to be some sort of discipline that related to what the job was. At this point in time, it was technology. And I wanted to see what else they did. And so I talked to them very little about their job, about what they would be doing. I talked very little about that. I spent more time talking about what they did during college, how they liked that, who they were, their philosophy on stuff. Now, I couldn't ask them questions. Obviously, there's questions you can't ask about religion and marriage and everything. But most of the time, if you get people comfortable in talking, they will admit these. And so I don't have to ask them. They just cough up the information without me knowing that. But now your competitive advantage in the job market will be, again, everybody else. So you're going to have to set yourself aside. Either have a great interview, or I promise you what it won't be. It won't be your GPA. So I've never, there may be a few people out there still using that, but that's typically not, I never ask a student or a college graduate their GPA. They probably wouldn't know. Sometimes people have been out of college for a while, and I didn't care. I know that grades can be inflated or they can be deflated, but they may not be indicative of what the person really is. So how do you create a competitive advantage for yourself before you graduate? Well, there's a lot of stuff you can do. You can belong to organizations. You can belong to civic organizations. You can volunteer for the United Way, for Red Cross. You can volunteer for a soup kitchen. That goes on a resume. That's the kind of stuff I was interested in when I would interview somebody. As far as technical requirements, I had a staff of people, lab techs and other people that did that for me. They got into the intricacies of the job, and they told me back, hey, either this guy's good to go, or this lady's good to go, or you don't want them. They don't know what they're talking about. So it has to go both ways. How do the elements of competitive advantage apply to you personally? Switching costs, differentiating products, creating barriers. You're going to have to decide on yourself what you want. I typically go for longevity when I'm buying something. Typically, I want something to last. I want to buy it once. So I typically pay more just because I want a better product. I buy what I want now. It may cost a little more, but in the long run, it will pay for itself again and again. So I'm usually for that. Now, other people are cost related. They'll go for the cheapest that they can get, knowing that it's only going to last a little bit, but they may have been in a better position when time rolls around to replace that item. So you have to decide on what you're going to differentiate and what's going to be your definition of quality. Quality is not always longevity. Quality may be aesthetics. Quality may be cost. Quality may be price performance. You have to decide on what you want to do. The review, I'm not going to go through all of this. I do want to cover the next. I want to take a look at Amazon, though. I have something in here. So you all, we've discussed all of these. I didn't spend a lot of time on value change. Your book discusses that quite well, so I didn't spend a lot of time on that. But I do want to talk to Amazon of innovation. I do want you to see this right now and what's happened with Amazon, what they've done since they've been out. And you can look and see what Amazon has done. Now, Jeff Bezos is the owner. This is why Jeff Bezos is one of the richest men in the world. It's not because he's stupid and he's not gotten lucky. It's because he's real smart, and it's because he has filled a niche. But now he's not any smarter than you all. So he's not any smarter than a lot of the other people that have not made a go of everything. He has just decided that what he was trying to do is fill a niche for something that we needed. We needed that. And so everything he's done with launching online books down to uh, Amazon Home Services and Destinations and coins and all of this. I mean, you just go on and on and on. Amazon Prime. I'm a Prime member. 2005. I have probably been a Prime member. I don't know if it's been since then, but it's been a long time. It probably has been since it came out. I probably was one of the first Prime members, and I take that very seriously because it works great for me. So I hope you got something out of this chapter. I hope you understand what competition is. It's not just beating other people up and bad-mouthing people. It's giving the customer something that someone else cannot, or they perceive that they cannot. So enjoy talking to you all. Good day.